Hello, my name is Catherine Rowan. I'm a transformational coach and spiritual mentor. And the context for making this video today is an article that appeared in my newsfeed this morning. I'm in the UK, this is on Apple News, and the headline is, "We Feel Castrated, the Young British Men Embracing Right-Wing Misogynistic Policies." So I read the article out of interest, and also there was a similar article in my news feed last week. So I'm reading these and taking this seriously because there are some very serious points in here about the spread of misogynism actually worldwide, which is alarming to me. And so I decided I would make a video that is educational. I'm not coming from any anti-male attitude. I want you to know that. I am very pro men, actually. I have a firm belief that patriarchy damages men as much as it does women. So I would like the opportunity to tell you why, and why the antidote to patriarchy is not necessarily matriarchy, but it's more of a paradigm where the masculine and feminine are recognized equally and their differences are valued equally. Right? So this is, I think, something different and something that does need to be said. And I feel that many of these misogynistic attitudes come really from lack of education, from ignorance, from fear, and from the person's own internal wounding. So let me just say a few things from this article, because the numbers are quite alarming that are quoted here. So it says, according to a British election study, women between the ages of 18 and 29 are more liberal and progressive on social issues than their male peers. The gap is 25 percentage points. Analysis by the Financial Times shows this is a global trend, although it is more pronounced in the US, South Korea, and Germany than the UK. And they're saying more or less that intrinsic to that trend is right-wing misogynistic attitudes towards women. Well, it is more than 40 years since equal opportunity, well, it's 50 years, almost 50 years since equal opportunities legislation was passed in the United Kingdom. The date was 1975. And of course, in the last decade, we've had a focus on the a whole new wave of feminism, a Me Too movement. And for sure, when there's a movement that goes in one direction, yes, often there is a countering movement. But this is worrying. And I really feel it comes from a deep lack of understanding or appreciation for the interdependence of all of life, for seeing women as human beings too. And I believe those that do are not misogynistic, those who do appreciate the benefits of both genders probably also are able to appreciate the roles of all forms of life, that all forms of life demand respect. Every form of life has a role in the whole. So where do my ideas come from? Well, I'm not religious, but I look for what's common to all religions, the common themes, the common principles. And my discovery has been that most religions are, and the stories of them, they're teachings of the underlying laws of the universe and underlying laws of energy. So that's where I've gone. So the traditions that I have followed can really be seen as like ancient forms of quantum physics, like quantum physics, the science is now agreeing with what the ancients have known for centuries, millennia perhaps. And many of these ancient people, you know, I think came up with teachings by observation, and maybe also they also were open to receiving, you know, messages. They had a more expanded context. You know, so what humans often would call God, and they may have called God too. You know, these are often the messages we take from we don't know where. But it's certainly true that there is an expanded context beyond what the mind often defines as life. So in these expanded systems, these nature-based systems, energy-based systems, there is, the world over, a formula for right relationship between masculine and feminine, which is expressed in metaphorical terms as fire under water. So a metaphor might be, you know, if you have like a gas oven, you have a pan of water that you want, or you're cooking something, then the fire has to go below the water to heat that up to cook it. So the fire is the supporting function for the creative alchemy that is taking place. So in these systems, the feminine is generally seen as the moving, transformational aspect of consciousness. It is seen as energy and power. And the masculine is seen as the structures supporting that. So when that's extrapolated into life, it is seen that the masculine as a whole in a healthy society is a supportive function. Now, it's not just that that means that men's role is just to support women, although I do think it's a much healthier society where men see that as a role. But it's also about the masculine and feminine within each of us, because each of us has masculine and feminine within. That's seen in the energy traditions, it's seen in modern psychology. So none of us is purely one thing or the other. There's a spectrum. And we see this, you know, all of the views that have positioned, you know, male at one end of a polarity and female at another. And now we have whole movements in society pointing out that there's a spectrum, that there are whole groups of people that aren't identifying as either male or female. There's a spectrum. And there's a spectrum within us. We have different proportions, but we all have some masculine and some feminine principle within us. This is the basic, you know, if you know that, I think most people know the Tai Chi diagram, you know, the one with the circle, that's the yin and the yang and the little dots. And that says that there is yin within yang and yang within yin. And that's a whole range. If you're not familiar with the laws of energy, you can Google this, look up the property laws of yin and yang, and even that will help you to understand that that misogyny is not a healthy role in society, that suppressing the feminine is not good, nor is suppressing the masculine. Actually, that these two principles are meant to operate in harmony. They're not the same. They have different functions in the whole, but they're meant to collaborate, not compete. One is not meant to suppress the other. And the healthy relationship, as I just said, is fire. The metaphor for it is fire under water. We want to support women to achieve their potential as well as men to achieve their potential. And we want within each of us to promote the healthy functioning of the feminine aspect within, which is our creativity, our emotions, our transformational capacities. It's actually, in spiritual terms, it's the Kundalini energy within both women and men. It's the transformative power of consciousness that enables both women and men to advance emotionally, spiritually, and even intellectually. We were looking for an expanded view here for both women and men. So this is just a very short, I may well do another video to say a lot more, but what I do want you to know is that I actually have an e-course which expands on all of these concepts. I've decided to reduce the price on it so that it's available to more people. It's now available for £22 from my Kajabi website. And if you click on more in the description below the video, then it will reveal the link and you can go there and purchase it. The e-course has its short videos. They're like 10-minute videos. There are 2 videos. I initially recorded it specifically for women, but there's lots of education in there, which is good for both women and men. And as I say, it is pro men as well. I do talk about why patriarchy disadvantages men, and often that's really about the stunting of their emotions and their creativity. And I really believe that patriarchy harms relationships. It actually means that neither women or men get the deeper access to love and sexual satisfaction that I believe we all actually seek in relationship. So if you want to know more about that, buy the e-course, and it has 2 modules which are about this success. I call it the feminine success formula, and it's about this formula of fire underwater. There are 2 modules called the feminine wound. So I believe it's actually the feminine wound which is the reason that really what promotes these misogynistic attitudes. So there's a call for healing. I think we want to approach this from a position of love, as even though it may promote anger in us. It's actually a need for healing for both men and women, healing of the feminine aspect. Patriarchy is spawned from a distorted masculine, a distorted feminine. It brings out the shadow form of the masculine and feminine. There is no divine masculine or divine feminine, in my view, within patriarchy. So to bring out those divine qualities in both men and women, we require healing of the feminine wound. So the e-course talks about that. And then the final 2 modules talks about this, the feminine as power. What the difference would be in society if we considered power itself to be feminine, because for sure, patriarchy and misogyny is about power is defined as force and control and dominance, but power does not have to be seen that way. Power can be seen as transformation. It can be seen as sexuality. It can be seen as all sorts of things that we actually would like to experience spiritually, sexually, emotionally. And I believe that all of these things that humans actually deeply desire, a lot of that, the key to unlocking all of that is the reframe of the feminine, and to be cultivating her within us and between us, and honoring and respecting women as part of that. And please, men, those of you who are, if I'm preaching to the already converted, I've been speaking to friends over the last week because most of this is about what's happening in the younger generation, between the teenagers up to the age of 30. So I've been speaking to friends who still have children in those ages. I have one daughter who's now 29, so she's like at the very end of that cohort, so maybe not so subjected to this, but I have information even from friends who have daughters in school, and even in they have those with educated professional parents with children in private schools. I understand that there's a lot of harassment of teenage girls, expectation of sexual favors, and that this is a lot of things very common that I assume are promoted by social media, pornography, etc. Things that we don't really want to be seeing, A, in the younger generation, and B, is this the direction we want society going into? So I'm calling on those in my generation, those younger as well, who stand with me on this. And if you're a man, please, please, when you see things, if you see anything happening, please, if you're a man and your daughter comes home and reports these things happening at school, please go and see the head teachers and let them know what's happening. Please stand up for the women in your organizations, and please lend your support. I think this is about education, so let's get this information out there. And thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye for now, and lots of love.